senior official in former President Joe Biden's administration has admitted that he has no doubt that Israel has committed war crimes in Gaza. Speaking to the Sky News Trump 100 podcast, Matthew Miller, who, as a State Department spokesman, was the voice and face of the U.S. government's foreign policy under Biden, revealed disagreements, tensions, and challenges within the former administration. In the wide-ranging conversation, he said, "It was without a doubt true that Israel has committed war crimes, that Israeli soldiers were not being held accountable, that there were disagreements all along the way about how to handle policy, and that he would have wanted to have a better candidate than Biden for the 2024 election." Miller served as the State Department spokesman from 2023 until the end of Biden's presidential term. From the podium, his job was to explain and defend foreign policy decisions, from Ukraine to Gaza. Miller emphasized, "Look, one of the things about being a spokesperson is you're not a spokesperson for yourself. You are a spokesperson for the president, the administration, and you espouse the positions of the administration. And when you're not in the administration, you can just give your own opinions." Now, out of office, he offered a candid reflection of a hugely challenging period in foreign policy and U.S. politics. Asked about Gaza, he revealed there were small and big disagreements within the Biden administration over the U.S.-Israeli relationship. There were disagreements all along the way about how to handle policy. Some of those were big disagreements, some of those were little disagreements, he said. Miller further revealed that the administration did debate at times whether and when to cut off weapons to Israel. "You saw us in the spring of 2024 stop the shipment of 2,000-pound bombs to Israel because we did not believe they would use those in a way that was appropriate in Gaza. Through the spring and summer of 2024, the Biden administration was caught between its bedrock policy of the unconditional defense of its ally Israel and the reality of what that ally was doing in Gaza with American weapons. On halting arms to Israel, Miller told Sky News, "There were debates about whether to suspend other arms deliveries, and you saw at times we held back certain arms while we negotiated the use of those arms, but we found ourselves in this really tough position, especially in that time period when it really came to a head. We were at a place where, I'm thinking of the way I can appropriately say this, the decisions and the thinking of Hamas leadership were not always secret to the United States and to our partners." Miller also said, "It was clear to us in that period that there was a time when our public discussion of withholding weapons from Israel, as well as the protests on college campuses in the United States, and the movement of some European countries to recognize the state of Palestine. Appropriate discussions, appropriate decisions, protests are appropriate, but all of those things together were leading the leadership of Hamas to conclude that they didn't need to agree to a ceasefire, they just needed to hold out for a little bit longer and they could get what they always wanted." Now, the thing that I look back on, that I will always ask questions of myself about, and I think this is true for others in government, is in that intervening period between the end of May and the middle of January 2025, when thousands of Palestinians were killed, innocent civilians who didn't want this war, had nothing to do with it. Was there more that we could have done to pressure the Israeli government to agree to that ceasefire? I think at times there probably was. On the accusation of genocide in Gaza, Matthew Miller said, "I don't think it's a genocide, but I think it is without a doubt true that Israel has committed war crimes." The total death toll since the beginning of Israel's offensive over Gaza stands at 54,170 and counting. As Israel continues to bombard parts of Gaza, at least 40 Palestinians have been killed and 208 injured in Israeli attacks across Gaza in the past 24 hours. The United Nations warned that Gaza is the hungriest place on earth, and its entire population is at risk of famine as desperate Palestinians are shot at, starved, and forced from their homes by the Israeli forces. Calling on Israel to stop its campaign of deliberate starvation and allow food into the besieged enclave, the UN on Friday said its mission to help Gaza's Palestinians is the most obstructed in recent history. 2 weeks ago, a UN humanitarian chief issued severe warning that 14,000 babies in Gaza could die within 48 hours if lorries of aid do not reach communities in the Strip. There have been reports that Israel is firing on desperate hungry Gazans near aid centers. Chaos ensues as tens of thousands of desperate Palestinians in the Gaza Strip tried to collect food from distribution sites run by a new US&C and Israeli-backed foundation. Multiple witnesses have reported a free-for-all of people grabbing aid, and they said Israeli troops opened fire to control crowds. In central Gaza, smoke bombs were arching through the air around a distribution center, and gunfire was audible as an Israeli tank moved nearby. Witnesses said it was Israeli troops who fired the projectiles to clear large crowds of Palestinians after the center ran out of supplies.